what we're going to look at tonight, now this video, I am going to release it to the public because obviously a lot of my subscribers have been following the Madeleine Soto case. But I wanted to do it tonight on the live. It's good for the members to be able to see it first. And when I finish going through these documents, still I've got so much to show you about the Madeleine Soto case. The problem at the moment, honestly, is there are so many things I want to tell you about, not only with Madeleine Soto, but with Rachel Marin and all different things that are going on. I haven't even got around to doing anything about the elections for ages in the UK. So many things, aren't there, going on? There's always something to do a video about. But when I've finished going through the bulk of these documents, I'm not going to go through every single little thing. Though these documents that I've got, it isn't the original, 990 pages. This is the narrative that was released by the police station, by the police themselves in Kissimmee. And it's great because it's so much easier to follow. It's more condensed. And because it's hard, that other document, it's really difficult to plow through because it's just so long and you have to go through every page because if you don't, you may miss something really interesting and important. So what I found about this narrative is it's much easier to go through. It's hard going, as you know from what we've seen already. It's grim reading. But some of the things that are coming up are so interesting. And tonight is no exception. So tonight we're going to be listening to or looking at, and I'm going to be reading out. I prepared the video earlier this morning because I knew I wouldn't feel like it tonight reading it all out because I'm always tired in the evening, but I knew especially after watching the football, I knew I would have a few little drinky poos and I would be even more tired than I normally am. So I recorded the actual video earlier, but of course I'm here with you and I'm going to comment on it with you. And every now and again I'll stop it if I've got something to say or put a comment in the box. What was I going to say? So, yeah. So tonight we're going to listen to the interview with Jen's ex-boyfriend, who's called Stephan. She's got Stephan and Stephan. We're going to listen or read about the interview with Stephan's parents, which is really interesting. Chris and Debbie, his parents, what their thoughts on everything were. There's an interview with one of Stephan's friends. I had them all written down somewhere, but I might have thrown it away now. Oh, yeah. So one of Stephan's friends called Frank Peralta, Stephen Young, who is the ex-boyfriend of Jen, Chris and Deborah Stearns, Stephan's parents, and Jen's housemate, Natalie Roseroto. So they're all going to give their statements and we're going to read them. Now I could see that you're in the chat talking about shingles. I've had shingles. It's awful. It's awful. I've only had it once. I hope I never have it again. But it's a horrible thing, shingles. It really is. The thing is, once in Spain, they call it herpes. Not chicken pox, not shingles. They told me I had herpes or herpes. So, it just sounds awful when they put it like that. But they have a really good, they gave me an injection and it cured it within 2 days. So that was brilliant because until it was diagnosed, it was so painful and awful. But as soon as it was diagnosed, they gave me this injection and that was it. It was gone within 1-2 days. So, yeah, I would, but I don't have. I do it because there is what Chunga's saying there is a vaccine for shingles, but I would not have that. I'm not having that. I have been offered it, but I'm not having it. I'm just not having it. So I'm vaccinated out. Not having any more vaccines. Not for a while anyway. I might regret it, but at the end of the day, I'm not having it. So there you go. I know, herpes, that's what they call it. Oh, tienes herpes, the doctor said to me. You've got herpes. I was like, what? But that's just what they call shingles and chickenpox. It's got the same name. So because it's the virus, they call herpes. Okay. So now, actually, herpes or shingles wasn't that itchy, really. It was so painful, though. It was like someone was stabbing me in the back. It was like a knife going in your back. It was very, very, very painful. Let's have a listen to this video then, and use your trigger warning, because, yeah, there's... the other thing that's on this... these documents that we're going to read today are the text messages between Stephan and Jen. Some details about Madeleine's phone and the steps that were made on it. There are quite a few details in this video, so let's start listening to it. And trigger warning, as I say, you know, not very nice. As we know this is not very nice, but I do think it's important to hear these details. I mean, at the end of the day, we already hate Stephan Stearns, don't we? I don't think we could probably hate him anymore, and they're not going to make us hate him any less. But it may make us understand Jen a little bit more. It certainly has made me understand Jen a little bit more, and I take the same position that I've taken from the beginning. Actually, I've got sympathy with Jen, because I just think, you know, when this all dawned on her, I worry about Jen, because I think, you know, everyone's been nasty to her and saying these terrible things to her, but I don't think anyone will be beating Jen up as much as Jen will be doing right now. You know, at the end of the day, she has lost her daughter. For her own fault, you might think, but it wasn't her fault. Stephan did it, but you might think, yeah, she shouldn't have been so stupid. Well, you know, there you go. It's murder being perfect, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a listen. Stated he married Jennifer in 2015 and divorced in either 2016 or 17. He wasn't sure. So this was Jen's husband. Yeah, he married Jen. This is not Madeleine's... Is this Madeleine's biological dad? Stephen Young. Let me see. What was the name of it? Let's see. I don't think it is. Oh, bless me. So, no, Madeleine's biological dad is Tyler Wallace. And they weren't really in a proper relationship, were they? So this interview is with Jen's ex-husband. Okay? I don't know if you knew that she had an ex-husband. I don't know that I did, to be honest. Wasn't sure. That nobody's sure of anything in this case. Stephen stated he met Jennifer through a dating website. Stephen stated they lived in Venetian Bay while they were married, in the same location as Jennifer is living in now. When they were living together, it was Stephen, Jennifer, Juan, Jennifer's father, Madeleine, and Stephen's daughter, Ashlyn Young. Stephan stated so when he and Jen were married, they lived. They seemed to live in these households where there was a lot of people. So there was a lot of people living all together there when he was married to Jen, which is interesting. But it's a big, seem to be quite big houses that they've, like the house where Jen was living with Stephan, Madeleine, the two flatmates or housemates, and their children as well. So they were 4-bedroom houses. They're quite, this is just it's terrifying, really, isn't it? Because all this that happened to Madeleine, she was not isolated. There were people all around her. It wasn't just her and Stephan, or her, Stephan and Jen. It seems like quite a chaotic sort of household. Stayed in the bedroom downstairs. He and Jennifer stayed in a room upstairs, and both Madeleine and Ashlyn had their own bedrooms upstairs as well. I asked Stephan how the relationship with Jennifer was when they were together. Stephan stated it was good in the beginning, but later on in the relationship, Jennifer began having mental health issues. Stephan said there were times when he would have to take care of the household when Jennifer was having a bad time with her mental health. Oh, dear me. Oh, he had to take care of the household. You may have guessed. I am starting to lose patience with Jen seems to have had all these men that are just like wimps. So he's saying, he had to take care of the household while, Jen had these issues with mental health. Well, welcome to a woman's world. This is take care of the household. That's what people have to do. Not only women, lots of people do. Why did you say, when you're in a relationship, it's a joint thing to take care of the household, isn't it? Not, it's not one person's job. You do it jointly. And yes, sometimes one person might be ill and you have to take more responsibility, and it can work the other way. You might be ill and the other person, but it's, if you're in a relationship, surely it's a team, isn't it? Stephan decided to remove Ashlyn from that atmosphere, which is when they decided to get divorced. Stephan said he considered Madeleine as his daughter due to the amount of time they spent together. Ashlyn and Madeleine would play games online once a month for a few years. Stephan would join the game just to talk with Madeleine. Stephan stated he loved and cared about Madeleine, even though the relationship. So here's another one. This is not Stephan. This is Stephan, who was Jen's boyfriend, husband. Beforehand, he's another one playing games online. Grown man playing games online with Madeleine. I don't know what haven't they got a job to go to? What is this? Honestly, it's sort of, you just think, oh, for God's sake, grow up. With Jennifer didn't work out. Stephan said he thought Madeleine was in good hands, so he tried to become with Stephan. I think what they're saying is he tried to become friends with Stephan since he was going to be in Madeleine's life. Stephan said he visited Jennifer and Stephan when they lived in Northport, Florida. Stephan was playing games with Stephan, which ended in a small argument. Ever since the argument of board games, they haven't spoken since. I asked Stephan where he lived when he was living in Florida. And so Stephan, the ex-husband of Jen, and Stephan, the next boyfriend of Jen's, had an argument over games, board games. And so then they stopped speaking. Before that, they were pals who used to play, computer games online together and things. But they had an argument over games. These grown men. Honest to God, you just think, what? You know, so he seems a bit childish as well, just like Stephan is. Just big babies, aren't they? Jen can pick them, can't she, Jen? I thought I was fat with men, but I tell you what, she picks even worse men. Stephen said he lived in an area called Williamsburg, which is near SeaWorld. Stephen would move to Colorado in 2022. Stephen would keep in contact with Madeleine and would inquire how she was being treated by Stephan. I asked Stephen to explain the sleeping arrangements when he was living with Jennifer. Stephen said Madeleine would sleep with Jennifer, but he was not comfortable with Madeleine sleeping with them in the same bed. I asked Stephen if he had seen any demeanour changes with Madeleine. Stephen said Madeleine seemed off for the last few years, which he thought it could have been Madeleine going through puberty, but it started during the end of elementary school. Stephen said Jennifer wasn't different, but she was always trying to figure out her mental health medications. Jennifer recently disclosed to Stephen where a recent medication that she had been taking knocks her out, meaning tired and sleeping. I asked Stephen how he heard about Madeleine, and he stated that his wife saw something online. Stephen talked with Jennifer on the 27th of February when Jennifer stated Stephan took Madeleine to school and made a bunch of mistakes afterwards, like deleting his phone. Jennifer also stated Stephan and Madeleine both forgot their phones when he took her to school. Stephen said he believed Madeleine forgot her phone, but thought it was odd that Stephan forgot his phone because he always had his phone and was typing on it all the time. Stephen said he wanted to make sure he spoke with Jennifer over the phone because he wanted to hear the tone of her voice. Stephen described Jennifer's tone as being anxious if something was wrong. Stephen said they were speaking over speakerphone and Stephan was with Jennifer. Stephan made the comment that he felt guilty because he forgot his phone and then he accidentally reset it. Stephen could not believe that Stephan was saying over the phone. Stephen could not believe that must be what Stephan was saying over the phone. Jennifer began saying what time she thought she woke up because of the dog, and Stephan interjected and told her that he would take care of the dog so she could rest. I asked Stephen if he knew why Jennifer didn't go to Madeleine's birthday party. Stephen said Jennifer's family can be a lot to handle sometimes, and she was starting a new job, and he understood why she wasn't there. I asked Stephen if he thought Jennifer had anything to do with what happened to Madeleine, and he said he doesn't feel that she would have deliberately known because she had family that could have helped her with the situation. Stephen said Ashlyn is starting to see a new therapist, and he said if she discloses anything related to this case, he would let me know. On March the 6th, 2024, at approximately 9:06 hours, Detective Smallwood and I responded to 21935 Haynes Avenue, Port Charlotte, Florida. We contacted Frank Peralta, who had previously called me and said he wanted to speak about Stephan. Right, so now who they're going to interview now. So they've interviewed Jen's ex-husband. That was what we've just listened to. And the guy they're going to interview now is Stephan's friend. One of his friends, anyway. Frank was placed under oath and stated the following. Frank stated he found out about Madeleine's death about 3 or 4 days prior to this conversation. Frank stated he saw an article on Google that mentioned her death, and he watched some YouTube videos. Frank stated the people making YouTube videos described Stephan in a way different than he knew him. Frank said he met Stephan around about 3 years ago because they played the game called Warhammer. Frank said he thought some of the interviews were weird because Stephan and Jennifer referred to themselves as boyfriend and girlfriend. Frank knew they weren't in a relationship anymore. Sorry, I'm just writing down so he knew they weren't in a relationship anymore. So this friend is saying to him it was strange that when he heard as the case unravelled and he heard them talking about Stephan as if he was Jen's partner, he was surprised, this guy, Stephan's friend, because as far as he knew, they weren't in a relationship anymore. It is a very strange relationship that they've had, isn't it? The dynamic between them is very odd. And Jen described Stephan as her best friend. Well, she must be pretty thin on the friends pool if he was her best friend. But you know what? I do think that Jen completely trusted Stephan. Don't know why. I just think she did. Just let me. So, Stephen Young. Okay. So he knew they weren't in a relationship anymore. So he thought it was odd. I asked Frank if he talked about Jennifer when he hung out with him recently, and he said he talked more about Madeleine than Jennifer because they created such a strong bond. Frank thought it was strange because Stephan didn't work. However, he had the money to purchase items for the multiple games he played. Frank said he knew that Stephan would take Adderall because he would be awake all night and he would sleep during the day. Frank didn't know if Stephan took any type of sleeping medication. I asked Frank if he had any conversations with Stephan about his sex life. Frank stated no. However, they would be out and an adult female would be interested in Stephan, and Stephan showed zero interest. Frank stated Stephan told him he was going to go to Kissimmee the weekend of the 17th of the 2nd, but he didn't go. Frank stated Stephan was talking about Madeleine when he said he was going to go to Kissimmee that weekend. Frank said Stephan was talking about he and Jennifer ending their relationship, and Maddie's name came up during that conversation. He was more upset about the bond he created with Madeleine than having a relationship with Jennifer. There were no conversations between Stephan and Jennifer mentioning him going to Kissimmee that weekend. Frank stated he did not know much about the sleeping arrangements when Stephan was living in Kissimmee. On March the 6th, 2024, at approximately 10:18 hours, Detective Smallwood and I responded to 2341 Snug Street, Northport, Florida, to speak with Chris Stearns and Deborah Stearns, who are the parents of Stephan. Chris stated that he was expecting to speak to us at some point. Okay, so they've gone to see Stephan. He was expecting to speak to us at some point during this investigation. And this is an odd interview. Well, anyway, I'll leave you to make your own mind up. I told them I was trying to get an understanding of Stephan and Jennifer's relationship. They stated Stephan and Jennifer were together approximately 7 years. Deborah stated they didn't approve of them being together because of drug use. Chris stated it was drug use as well, as Jennifer was taking medication for depression and anxiety, and he didn't think Jennifer was going to be a good influence for Stephan. God, they didn't think Jennifer would be a good influence for Stephan. What, you know, they want to talk about the influence there. Yeah, so Stephan Stearns' parents, Stephan Stearns, the child abuser, child murderer, his parents didn't think that Jen was a good influence on Stephan. Who does that remind you of? You know who that reminds me of? Chris Watts. You know, when Chris Watts told his dad in the interview room that Shanann had murdered the kids and that's why he killed them. His dad just accepted it, just went, oh my God, son. You know, like, never even said, what, Shanann murdered the kids. I mean, as much as they may not have got on with Shanann and whatever anyone thought of Shanann, I think anyone could see in all her videos, she was a good mum, a loving mum. She was pregnant as well. She wasn't going to murder her children. But Chris Watts' father just went, oh my, you know, just accepted it. This is what this reminds me of. You know, so they thought Jen was a bad influence on Stephan. You know, it's because they couldn't accept that he was not a nice person, even despite all the things that he did to them. You know, he stole money off them, he used them, he did some awful things, but they still believed that it was Jen who was the bad influence. These parents have got a lot to answer for, I think. I mean, they have, you know, it's not their fault what he does, but you can just hear in the way they talk, they bailed him out of trouble time and time again. He was still being kept by them. You know, they paid off that guy he took the compromising photos of his wife in the shower or whatever. They paid him off. You know, they bailed him out of everything. Well, they can't bail him out of this. Son was having on everybody else. They explained that both Stephan and Jennifer would sleep all the time, and it wasn't a positive thing for their relationship. When both Stephan and Jennifer would suffer a mental illness episode, they would bring the other person right down with them, and it wasn't a good dynamic. Chris stated Stephan was diagnosed with sleep apnea, and he would be up all night and then sleep all day. I asked what Stephan would do when he was in town staying with them, and Chris stated Stephan would lock himself in his bedroom and only come out to eat dinner. So he's like a teenager, isn't he? Just, you know, that's what teenagers do, isn't it? Chris stated he brought Stephan back to... Yeah, so even when he's gone back to his parents as an adult, he's nearly 40 years old, stayed in his room all day playing video games and just came out to eat like an 18-year-old does. You know, that's the sort of man Stephan was, or is. God knows what he's doing now without his PlayStation. Northport from Kissimmee. But he was tired of supporting him living with Jennifer. Chris stated that Stephan was sharing a room with Jennifer, but when they split up, Stephan began living in his own room at the location. So Chris would pay Stephan's rent of $600 a month. Chris said when Stephan moved back to... So his dad was still paying his rent for him. He was in his late 30s. Mind you, do you know what? If he could afford it, I expect it was worth it just to get him out of their house. Stephan would lock himself in his room, and there was always tension due to his sleeping disorder. Chris said that when Stephan moved back to Northport, he and Jennifer were supposed to be broken up. I asked Chris if Stephan ever said they were officially broken up, and he said yes and no. Chris stated Jennifer told him the week prior to Stephan coming to Kissimmee for this incident, that Jennifer had told him she didn't want Stephan as a partner and he wouldn't be a good partner for her. Chris said he assumed they were officially ended their relationship because Stephan had recently been seeing another female. Wonder if she had children. I asked how many times Stephan went to Kissimmee after he moved back home. They stated he went. Yeah, so Stephan was seeing somebody else. He was seeing another female. God, I wonder what she thinks of it all. You know, has she got children? Now, I don't know if you noticed, but when they were interviewing Stephan, Jen's ex-husband, he's got a daughter by another marriage. She was often around Stephan. And apparently, Stephan, if you heard what he said, he asked his daughter, you know, was there anything untoward? Did he ever do anything untoward? And his daughter said no. But, you know, of course, they do say no, don't they? And what he said, she's going to a counsellor. And he said to the police, he would keep them informed if she ever came out with anything, you know, that maybe Stephan had tried to do something to her. He would let the police know. But, you know, this man is a danger. You know, he's got another woman on the go as well as Jen, as well as Madeleine. You know, whatever he's doing to Madeleine, his relationship with Jen, which by then I think was platonic. But he's got another woman on the go. Did she have children, I wonder? And what does she make of it all? I went to Kissimmee 3 times, including this most recent time. Once being during Thanksgiving and the other was Christmas. Deborah stated in the last year or so, Madeleine began showing signs of being bipolar. I asked if she witnessed Jennifer and Madeleine. Yeah, Madeleine showed signs of being bipolar. Madeleine, you know, what about, it's a shame she couldn't notice what, you know, the signs of being a child abuser in her own son, but she noticed that Madeleine was showing signs of bipolar. Poor Madeleine, I'll tell you, it's heartbreaking what that girl went through. Butting heads, as previously mentioned, and she said no. Deborah said she would only hear them arguing over the phone. Deborah stated she didn't think Madeleine was a very social person, and she didn't have many friends. This was odd because Madeleine had several friends at her current school. I asked when Madeleine, Jennifer and Stephan were visiting Northport if any of them took any medication to fall asleep, and Deborah said no. Deborah said Stephan was prescribed an anti-anxiety medication and ADHD medication, but neither of them knew that Stephan or Jennifer's medical routines were. I asked if Stephan would drive the silver Lincoln to Kissimmee when he visited Jennifer. Chris said that he would drive Chris's Lincoln because he didn't trust Stephan's vehicle. I asked why Stephan went to Kissimmee this most recent time, and Chris said it was for Madeleine's birthday. Deborah stated Madeleine called Stephan on the 24th of February to make sure he was coming. Yeah, so apparently, according to Stephan, of course, we don't know unless there's a record of the phone call, apparently Madeleine rang Stephan to make sure he was coming to her birthday party. But don't forget, he did not go to her birthday party, did he? Because apparently, they do address that here in a minute, apparently he did not go to the party because the party was at her grandma's and her grandma did not like Stephan. Well, at least she perhaps noted, you know, she had a feeling about him maybe, but it's a shame that Madeleine did not feel that she could confide in her grandma. I just feel like Madeleine was surrounded by people, you know, family, her friends, her real dad, her other stepdad, Jen's ex-husband, her cousins, her auntie, the housemates, her friends. She was surrounded by people, but it's like there was nobody she felt she could go to. It's very sad. So sad. Oh dear. Chris said something was odd with Stephan and he was very upset. Stephan was anxiously looking for anxiety medication from Chris and Deborah, but was unsuccessful. Chris said Stephan looked very stressed out on Saturday evening. Chris said he felt that Stephan was more stressed out over something rather than upset over something, but he had no idea what was stressing him out. I asked, when did they hear about what happened with Madeleine's disappearance? And Chris said he spoke with Stephan when he arrived in Kissimmee on the 25th. Chris said he tried to get hold of Stephan several times on the Monday morning, but didn't get an answer. Stephan called Chris at 15-17 hours, and Stephan's voice seemed a little off to Chris. During that conversation, Stephan tells Chris that he got a flat tire somewhere on Highway 192. Stephan tells Chris that he changed the tire, but got injured during the process due to pinching his finger between the jack and the vehicle. Stephan then calls Chris back at 16:54 hours, and Stephan tells Chris that there has been an occurrence and he was on his way to Madeleine's grandmother's house. An occurrence, that's what he said to his dad. There's been an occurrence. What a strange thing to say. Chris thought that was a strange use of words. Stephan then tells Chris the story of him dropping Madeleine off near the school because she didn't want to be seen in his car. Chris thought it was strange that two incidents happened during the same day. Stephan tells Chris that Madeleine had not been in school all day and the area where she was dropped off at was a known area for kidnappings and abductions. So he tells his dad that the area he dropped Madeleine off in was a known area for kidnaps and abductions. So of course that's exactly the place you would drop off your stepdaughter, isn't it? That you supposedly you think of like your own daughter. Yeah, an area that's well known for kidnappings and abductions. Oh, let's drop her off there. Of course, it's a load of bollocks. It's a load of rubbish. But just shows you, you know what, how thick he is, Stephan. That wouldn't sound strange. You know, do you imagine if I was saying, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to pick up my granddaughter. And I took my granddaughter somewhere and I dropped her off, but she wanted to get off at a mile away from where I wanted to drop her off, and it's a dangerous place where there's a lot of kidnappings and abductions. But she wanted me to drop her off there, so I dropped her off there. Aye, right. Gosh. So you've got a known area for kidnappings and abductions, and you drop your child off there. Or your stepchild, whatever. The area of Hunters Creek Middle School is an upper middle class neighbourhood and not an area like Stephan told Chris. During the conversation, Chris said Stephan was upset, as if he was holding himself responsible. And then apparently the neighbourhood was not a dodgy neighbourhood, of course. It's a middle class suburban neighbourhood. So it was a lie, obviously, what he'd said. Maybe because he was responsible for Madeleine's disappearance. Chris said he felt that Stephan was rehearsing his story on him because it was the same routine that he used during Stephan's statement during a media interview on Tuesday. Chris would speak with Stephan over the phone a few more times during Monday and Tuesday. Chris would ask what Stephan and Jennifer have done to help find Madeleine, and when it was mentioned law enforcement wanted Stephan's phone, Chris advised him to hand his phone over if there wasn't anything incriminating on it. Crikey. My God. So his dad has said to him, hand over your phone if there's nothing incriminating on it. My God. Stephan then told Chris that he accidentally reset his phone when doing an update. The famous reset. Oh, Chris thought it was bullshit, so his own father thought it was bullshit. Chris thought it was bullshit and there was no way to accidentally do that. Yeah, we all know that. I asked Chris why he went to Kissimmee, and he said Stephan told him they were getting kicked out of their home and had to stay in a hotel. This is when the residence was secured for a search warrant. Chris went to Kissimmee to assist Stephan and Jennifer for whatever they needed. Chris said when he left he couldn't lock the front door because the batteries were dead in the electronic lock, so he advised Deborah of the issue. When Chris got to Kissimmee, he met up with Stephan and Jennifer, and they had a small discussion on the probable interviews that may take place the following day, and then they went to their respective rooms. Chris said he got a call from Jennifer the following morning asking if Stephan was with him. Chris and Jennifer met in the lobby, and Chris asked Jennifer if her car keys were in the room, and she said no. Jennifer received a phone call from a detective saying they're wanting to conduct an interview. However, Stephan was not there. Chris became concerned at that point, thinking that Stephan was going to look guilty. Stephan eventually shows up to the hotel and told a story that he got lost. Lie after lie, isn't he, this guy? Chris, so his own father, did not believe the story because Jennifer's car has a GPS feature. So even his own dad knew he was lying. You know, that's how rubbish a liar he is. Even his own dad, who, you know, to be honest, has supported him through more things than he probably should have. Even he knew that he was telling lies, which would provide accurate directions. Chris was able to speak with Detective Alec Richards, who advised Chris that Stephan was in Northport early Wednesday morning. Detective Richards told Chris they had information that Stephan possibly went to his storage facility located at 1001 Executive Avenue. Chris said Stephan would have been disappointed because there was no way to gain access into their home, because the only way inside would have been through the garage, which he didn't have the remote for. Chris stated that when Stephan finally made it back to the hotel, he went to sleep and there was no waking him up. I asked Chris why Stephan would have come to the house, and he said the only reason would be to possibly steal something to get money. Oh my goodness. Goodness me. This is his own father talking about him. So he said the only reason he would have come to the house would be to possibly steal something to get money. I asked if they have spoken with Jennifer since Stephan was arrested, and Chris stated they exchanged a few texts. Deborah asked if we spoke to Jennifer about what happened after Madeleine's birthday party. Deborah stated Jennifer told them she asked Madeleine to go and sleep with Stephan in his room, and Deborah was not okay with that, and that was another reason they wanted Stephan to come back to their house to stay. I asked them if Stephan had any medication prescribed to him when he came to Kissimmee, and he said no. Stephan was having a lapse in insurance coverage. I asked Chris when the Northport police contacted him, did he give them a desktop computer, and he said yes. Chris said they gave Northport Police Department full access to Stephan's room, but it did not appear that they took anything of evidentiary value other than the computer that Chris gave them. Chris went on to say that Jennifer should not have been acting the way she was after just learning, and that's been blocked out. Then he also stated he thought everything that Stephan would say was a lie. Again, remember, this is his own father, and he didn't know what to believe, especially during the media interview. Detective Smallwood asked them if they thought Stephan would be capable of doing something like this, and Deborah said no, and she thought it may have, been an accident. Yes, and anyway, I can't even comment on that. After the interview was concluded, Detective Smallwood and I responded to the Northport Police Department, where we collected the tower computer and power cord collected from Stephan's room. The computer was delivered to the Kissimmee Police Department and submitted into evidence. On March the 7th, at approximately 10:38, I contacted Natalie Roseroto, who is a roommate that lived at 412 Santa Maria Drive. Natalie provided the following in a sworn statement. So we've got Natalie on here as well. I'm just writing these names down so I put them in the description. Natalie stated she has known Jennifer for years because she was friends with Jennifer's sister. Natalie moved into the residence in the beginning of 2012. Natalie stated Stephan was already living at the residence, but she didn't communicate with him outside of saying hello and goodbye. Natalie would spend most of her time in her own bedroom with her son. Jennifer confided in Natalie that Stephan was not maintaining a job to help provide for the household. That is when Stephan moved upstairs away from Jennifer and eventually moved out of the residence and back to his mother and father's residence. Natalie stated her work schedule and morning routine are consistent because it has to be for her son. Natalie stated she makes it a point to be out of the house by 7:45 because she has to drop off her son before she goes to work. Natalie stated Madeleine is normally waking up as she is leaving for the day. She would sometimes see her. I asked her if she had ever seen Madeleine getting ready for school, and she said that Madeleine would typically get ready for school in Jennifer's room. I asked Natalie if she's ever seen Madeleine alone with Stephan, and she could only remember one time they were inside of his room playing video games. Natalie texted Jennifer asking if she was good with Madeleine being in the room alone with Stephan, and Jennifer replied saying thank you. I asked Natalie if Jennifer takes medication, and she said she thought she took medication to help with her ADHD and sleeping habits. Natalie described an incident where she tried waking Jennifer up in the middle of the night because someone tried breaking into her car. Natalie said it was very hard to wake Jennifer up, and she believed it was because of the medication. Yeah, so there you go. So the flatmate or the housemate was saying she tried to wake Jen up one night because someone was breaking into her car. She couldn't wake her up. I think 100% these women were being drugged, both Jen and Madeleine. And it comes up later. I don't know if it'll be in this video, but I've read through, read ahead in the document that the police found on the computer that on his computer that he'd been Googling a particular kind of sedative, an anesthetic. No, not an anxiety tablet, an anesthetic. He'd been Googling it, so I think 100% he drugged Jen, he drugged Madeleine. Jen didn't know what day it was. Now, I've received the body cam now from the police department. I'm not going to go through it tonight because by the time I've gone through these documents, and there's something else I want to show you in a minute, it'll be too late, it'll be too long. But we're going to go through the body cam one day. That we've seen bits of it. The body cam of the police arriving to the grandma's office when Madeleine was reported missing. we're going to, you know, have a real deep dive into it and a good examination of it. And then I'm going to put that video of that body cam just on the members only videos so that you can watch it sort of anytime you want to have a look at it or check anything. Because don't forget, as the case comes up, the trial, there'll be things we'll want to look over from this document. We won't remember everything. Now, just as the housemate is talking here about, you know, it gives us an idea of the dynamics in that house, isn't it? So there was Stephan. We're not living there all the time now, but Stephan coming for the weekend. Madeleine, Jen, there was 2 housemates and their children. So it was a full house, wasn't it? Full house, a lot of people living there. Now, before we carry on with this Natalie's testimony, because her testimony is really important, I just want to show you that somebody very kindly sent me a link to the listing of the house, because the house was up for sale, but it's been taken off now. It's been taken off sale now. Actually, I'll do it at the end, because to go on to that, I have to come off this, I think. So, or do I? Let's see. I'll go off that. Let me see if I can present it without too much trouble. Yeah. So this is the house. 412 Santa Maria, apartment 107. And this is the house where it all happened. So I just want to show you the photos of the house, if I can find them. Yeah, so it's not a massive house, is it? It's not massive, but there was a lot of people living in it. So it just makes you wonder, how did all this happen? How did it all happen without anybody knowing? It's a pretty house. This is the complex. So if you look inside, like, the rooms aren't big, are they? They're not big rooms. The house is not big, but all this went on without anybody noticing. So in this house lived 3 adults and 3 children, and occasionally Stephan. Just wanted to show it you. So yeah, it's not a big house, is it? It's 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So that's good, having 3 bathrooms, isn't it? 4 bedrooms. So one bedroom would have been one of the housemates, maybe, and their child. Another bedroom, the other housemate and their child, I presume. Jen and Madeleine in another bedroom, and then there was one spare bedroom. It's quite eerie looking at the house. Anyway, it's off the market. It's been taken off the market. Nice big pool. I think that's the last one. We'll just go through them one more time just so you can have a look. Okay. So it says, there's a little description somewhere. Says, look, overview. Note this property is not currently for sale or for rent on Zillow. The description and property data below may have been provided by a third party, the homeowner or public records. So it describes it as a highly sought after end unit close to the pond, overlooking the preserve, sold fully furnished with enormous potential. The condo could easily be used as an investment property or primary residence. I don't know who owns this property, whether it's Jen or was it her father's or something. Because Jen, obviously, she's not going to go back there and live there, is she, after what happened there? And not only that, everybody knows her address. Her address is published in all the police reports. So she's not, people are going to go and give a hassle, aren't they? It features brand new roofs installed 2018 and recently repaved roads, multiple amenities including basketball, volleyball, tennis courts, as well as a car wash facility, rec centre, 4 pools, one heated pool, and a jacuzzi. So there you go. So it's been removed. Well, it's been removed from this listing anyway. It might be listed on a different site. I suppose it may even have been sold. I don't know. Okay, let's go back, finish off the document. Natalie stated during the evening of the 26th of February, Natalie told Jennifer she would help out. She would help pass out flyers or do whatever else that needed to be done to find Madeleine. That is when Stephan looks at Natalie and says to ask her, "Are you okay?" Natalie became annoyed and told him no. Natalie was bothered with this question from Stephan and thought the question was odd. Natalie described Jennifer as being in pieces, meaning very upset about Madeleine's disappearance, and Stephan was acting like he was concerned. I asked Natalie if she has ever known Madeleine want to go to school early, and she said no. Natalie stated she did not think Jennifer had anything to do with Madeleine's death and became very emotional, saying that they love their kids. On March the 7th, at approximately 13:07, Detective Reyes Soto and I contacted Angelica to conduct a follow-up interview. It appeared that Angelica was moving out of the residence she shared with Jennifer and Madeleine. I wanted to confirm the timeline we had previously spoken about. Angelica stated she got home from work on the 25th of February at approximately 11 to 11:30 hours. I asked if she had seen anybody when she got home, and she said no, but could hear people upstairs. I asked Angelica if Jennifer's door was open, and she described it as being cracked open slightly. Angelica stated she went to sleep around 2:30, when she was hearing noises coming from Stephan's room. She described the noises. How will she feel now, this woman? So this is so she's gone to bed. She's literally, in the room just over the way from where Stephan was killing Madeleine, abusing her and killing her, as she's heard noises and things. These people, they have to live with this trauma themselves. How will she feel? How would you feel knowing that all that had been going on and you didn't know and you just went to sleep because you did not know? As if someone was putting stuff on a table, which in order for her to hear noises, it would have to be significant based on the noise would have to travel through two closed doors and across a hallway. Angelica stated if Jennifer is awake, the television would be on or a light would be on in her room. When she got home, neither were on, which led Angelica to believe Jennifer was sleeping. He probably drugged her, hadn't he? He's probably put something in her drink. Angelica said she did not see the light in Stephan's bedroom when she got home. I think 100% he will have drugged Jen that night, even drugged her so that she didn't wake up, so she doesn't wake up. Angelica said she woke up around 9:30 the next morning. She eventually went downstairs to make breakfast and she saw Stephan. Angelica said Stephan was going in and out of the house and up and down the stairs. The next time she saw Stephan was so he was going in and out the house and up and down the stairs. Wonder when he took Madeleine's body out, because that would have been obviously dodgy for him to do. I wonder when he managed to do that, to actually get Madeleine's body out. He would have had to do that before anyone woke up, wouldn't he? Around 1:30 to 2 o'clock, and Stephan was washing clothes. I asked Angelica about the sleeping arrangements, and she said all three of them would sleep together. They made a small place for Madeleine to sleep in the living room, but she didn't like it, so she would sleep with Jennifer. I asked if she ever witnessed Stephan and Madeleine go into Stephan's bedroom by themselves, and she said yes. And you know what's especially tragic about all this? All this abuse that went on in the middle of a house where a lot of people were living, other children living in this house. So not only Jennifer and Stephan, but two other roommates and their children were living in this house, and this abuse still carried on. Jennifer would be at the house when this occurred. Angelica said she had a conversation with Jennifer about Stephan and Madeleine going into the same room together, and Jennifer would tell her that Stephan would never harm Madeleine, so she was okay with it happening. Totally on a different planet, this woman. Angelica stated she had another conversation with Jennifer about her sexual interactions or lack thereof with Stephan. Angelica said they didn't have sexual relations often, and that is why she didn't want to be with him any longer. When Stephan was told he had to move out the house, Angelica stated he was not happy. Madeleine did not appear to be upset with Stephan moving out of the house. I asked Angelica what Madeleine's routine would be when she woke up for school. Angelica said Madeleine would go to her portion of the living room and get dressed. She would eat breakfast, and Jennifer would let her sleep a little while longer before they left to school. Angelica stated she has never seen Stephan take Madeleine to school. I asked Angelica how Jennifer was acting from what happened. She said Jennifer was bad and could not believe this was happening. Over the next couple of weeks, I reviewed the cellular phone data that was extracted from Stephan, Jennifer and Madeleine's phones. And Madeleine's phone revealed the following. On the 16th of December at 0:47 hours, Madeleine sends a text message to Stephan that contained a photograph of 2 coins. And then this has been redacted. And there's so little redacted in this document, as this document is the narrative of all of the case. So little redacted, but that is so, not sure why. Detailed information. Oh, now this is interesting. So detailed information about steps in the health application for iPhone during the time frame between the 25th of February at 8:30 hours and the 26th of February at 1600 hours. So at 2209 hours, 9 steps were taken according to the iPhone. 9 steps. And then, so that was at 2209. Then at 2319, 31 steps were taken, 1 floor climbed, which matched the time when Jennifer sent Madeleine and Stephan upstairs to go to sleep. And then at 7:05 the following morning, 113 steps were taken according to the iPhone app. But this is Madeleine's phone, is it? This is Madeleine's phone. It's very odd. And then at 7:15, 50 steps were taken. And then at 10:55, 8 steps were taken, which is when Stephan is back at the residence. So, wonder what that means. You know, what do you think? What does that mean? Anyway, then at 14:37 hours, 54 on the 26th, 54 steps were taken, which is when Jennifer would be taking Madeleine's phone to her when she left to go and pick her up from school. So when Jen realised Madeleine had left her phone, she's probably thought, I'll take it and give it her when I pick her up. And on the 26th of the 2nd, at 17:03 hours were the next steps counted. So Madeleine's phone was plugged into charge on the 25th at 23:38 hours. That will have been Madeleine, I suppose, that actually plugged it into charge, but then it was unplugged from the charger at 7:04 hours the following morning, and then it was powered off at 7:16. This pattern of Madeleine's cellular phone use is not typical of her normal day, which shows this activity was not physically done by Madeleine. On the 26th of the 2nd at 10:55 is the next time Madeleine's cellular phone is turned back on, which coincides with the 8 steps it moved at the same time. Stephan and Angelica were the only people in the house at that time, and per Angelica's statement, she was inside of her bedroom during this time and only saw Stephan when he was doing laundry. Upon reviewing Stephan's cellular phone download, the following was observed. On the 26th of February at 12:12, a factory reset was done on the phone. This can only be accomplished by navigating to the settings option in the phone, tapping general management, swipe and tap reset, the tap factory data reset, and then review the information. Once reviewing the information is complete, swipe and tap reset. So it just shows you, this is it. He's saying to them, I did an accidental factory reset, as if the police don't know that you have to go through all this process. If there is a password on the phone, at this time a person would have to enter their password. This shows that Stephan could not have accidentally reset his phone, as it has nothing to do with a phone update, as he stated during his previous statements made under oath. Another factory reset was done on Stephan's cellular phone on the 27th of February at midnight. This would be the time frame of his last statements to law enforcement and before he drove Jennifer's car to St. Cloud. Now, also on Stephan's cellular phone was over 1,000 images. Now they've blocked this out, but in something in his photographs. Most of these photographs are sexually graphic in nature. These images will be described upon reviewing Stephan's Google information. Stephan also searches sevoflurane on 2 different dates, 2nd of the 12th, 24, and the 12th of the 2nd, 24, and the 14th of the 2nd. Sevoflurane is a volatile anesthetic that provides hypnosis, amnesia, analgesia. I think this is key. This that he's been searching. This anesthetic that makes people, that causes hypnosis, amnesia. You know, Jen couldn't remember anything, could she? She couldn't remember when he arrived there. Couldn't remember this. I think he's definitely been using this. I'm going to just put it back a bit to listen to that. I think that 100% Stephan Stearns was drugging both Jen and Madeleine with this drug or something similar. Midnight. This would be the time frame of his last statements to law enforcement and before he drove Jennifer's car to St. Cloud. Now, also on Stephan's cellular phone was over 1,000 images. Now they've blocked this out, but in something in his photographs. Most of these photographs are sexually graphic in nature. These images will be described upon reviewing Stephan's Google information. Stephan also searches sevoflurane on 2 different dates, 2nd of the 12th, 24, and the 12th of the 2nd, 24, and the 14th of the 2nd. Sevoflurane is a volatile anesthetic that provides hypnosis, amnesia, analgesia, akinesia, and autonomic blockade during surgical and procedural interventions. Clinical uses include inhalational induction of general anesthesia in neonatal and pediatric patients secondary to IVs. This information was obtained by Google. It is unknown why Stephan would be searching this term, using the search terms of show up in a drug test when he wasn't attempting to get a job or he didn't have any children that were having surgery. Upon reviewing Jennifer's cellular phone download, the following was observed. Jennifer would set an alarm at 7:30 hours on days that she would bring Madeleine to school. So he was Googling if that drug would come up in a drug test. I wonder, it makes you wonder, do you think maybe Madeleine or Jen, because this was in the February, I think he was Googling that. Do you think maybe Jen said to him, I've got to have a blood test tomorrow? You know, sometimes you go to the doctors or whatever, and you're feeling a bit run down, the doctor will say, we'll send you for a blood test, see if anything comes up. He's Googling, does this drug come up in a blood test? You know, so I do think, and I know I've said it right from the beginning, as much as I think Jen's just stupid, I don't think she had anything to do with any of it. I think she was drugged by this guy, used by him, coerced by him. You know, I think, I just think, you know, what he did. So he abused Jen as well, really. I do think that. But Jen was stupid letting him sleep in the same bed as Madeleine. Sorry, I was just pausing for a minute, make sure it's all being recorded okay, and it is. There were messages between Jennifer and Stephan on the 25th of February, starting at 23:39 hours, that stated the following. I mean, I find these messages harrowing. So at 23:39 hours, Jennifer texts Stephan, make sure she goes to bed right now. At 23:39 hours, he replies, okay, sweetie, good night. Get me a bucket, get me a bucket. Then again at 23:39, Jennifer replies, good night. Then at 23:40, Stephan texts Jennifer and says, she's built her nest and she's settling in now. And at the same time, Jennifer replies, okay, good. So those, presumably Madeleine was still alive at that point. These messages confirm what Jennifer stated during the interviews, that Stephan and Madeleine were alone in his bedroom prior to her death the following morning. Now they're saying here her death the following morning, so that's the first time I think it's been said that when she died, did she die that night? Yeah, now what do you think about that? So they said her death the following morning. Do you think that's just a bit of a slip of the pen, if you like? I mean, I don't think they've said, they certainly haven't said yet openly, publicly, what time they think she died. We can gather, obviously, she died sometime between when she went to bed with Stephan that night and when Stephan got up in the morning and started doing all this, driving to the school and stuff. But it actually said there, yeah, her death the following morning. I wonder why that they said that. I wonder why he killed her. Anyway, I'm not saying that she necessarily did die the following morning. It's just maybe that's just come out in there like that. Maybe it is a slip of the pen. That's the first time I've ever seen anyone say when exactly she died. They've never, like before, the police have always said, well, they've not said anything, have they? They've said that they thought Madeleine was dead when they saw her in the car, as Stephan was driving to the school, but they've never said anything about when she died. It's all been very sort of secret until these documents have come out. Did she die in the morning? It's saying here specifically following her prior to her death the following morning. So on the 25th of February, Jennifer set her cellular phone on a wireless charger at 23:54. On the 26th of the 2nd, Jennifer set an alarm to go off at 9 o'clock. The alarm was removed from the notifications while still on the wireless charger. Sorry, I'm just wondering who removed that. Who took that alarm off the notifications? Was it Jennifer? May have been Jennifer when she sort of woke up, thought she had to take Madeleine, and then Stephan said he would take her. On the 26th of the 2nd at 9:19, Jennifer's cellular phone was physically removed from the wireless charger. This is consistent with her daily activities with removing the alarm notifications or snoozing their alarm. There were several other messages between her and Stephan regarding Madeleine sleeping in the same room together. There was also text messages between Stephan and Jennifer claiming that Stephan gave Madeleine an extra dose of her medication when it was not necessary. I was able to search through images on Stephan's Google account that was recovered from a lawful search warrant submitted by the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I observed the following videos of high interest. Definite trigger warning here. So, first one, description, a video file depicting a prepubescent female resembling Madeleine, laying next to Stephan in a bed watching cartoons on the telly. Stephan is asking them to put his mushroom in their mouth for 3 seconds as he counts. Stephan states that they would not be able to play with a phone unless they did it. I don't think I can read all these. I just don't think I can do it. Yeah, I got to a point here where I just couldn't read all this out because it's just too horrible. Anyway, you can read it if you particularly want to, but it's not very nice. Let's just say various images, SCX images of what appears to be Madeleine, him abusing her either under a blanket or while she appears to be sleeping. I'm not going to read them out. You can see them there anyway on there. So, you know, and her identity is confirmed and his identity is confirmed by some distinguishing features. So I'm not going to read that. Oh my God, it goes on. So it's all when she appears to be sleeping or you know, was she drugged? Anyway, there were hundreds of other images containing Madeleine within Stephan's Google account, with most of them depicting sexual activity. A copy of Stephan's Google account was submitted into evidence. Okay, I'm going to finish there. I think that's enough. So it goes on to talk about interviews with friends and other people. So we'll be looking at that in the next one. Okay, so now, as I said, oh, that's gone a bit strange. As I said, something that I've now been sent today as well is the body cam. And we'll go through that another time. But, you know, we can only go through these things a bit at a time because, you know, they are grim. It is grim, isn't it? But I think there's a lot of extra information there that we didn't know before. And now I'm 100% convinced, and I'm sure the police are, that he was drugging both these women for probably over a length of time. As we know, he was a very sneaky person, you know, I mean, horrible person. Good God, oh dear me. Jen really won the lottery when she met him, didn't she? Crikey, you know, like we've seen photos of him when he was younger. He was better looking as well, wasn't he? Some of the photos of him, probably the photos that he used on his dating apps and things when he was, don't forget, he'd been with Jen for quite a long time. So he was probably early 30s when they got together. And both of them were a lot more vibrant and attractive. So, you know, he put on a good show. His target was Madeleine, I believe. As soon, probably his ears perked up. As soon as he heard that she had a young daughter, he was probably specifically looking for somebody who had children. You know, it's probably likely that he was already looking for that. And as I said, I've read forward. I've read forward. Is that David going as well? Bye, David. I've read forward in this document, and yeah, he had images from a long time ago as well, before Madeleine. Anyway, we'll get into that next time when we come to it in the document. Okay, so I'm going to bed. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to sleep well. I'll be back tomorrow with some more videos, of course. I don't think I'll do a Madeleine one tomorrow, though I may do the body cam because that was interesting to watch, wasn't it? To watch his body language, Jen's body language when the police turn up, etc. You can have a good look at it. And as I say, when I finish reading this document out, I'm going to put it on the members section. So, you know, if you ever want to check up on anything on the document instead of going through the videos again, you can just look at the document. I'm also going to put the body cam video up there, you know, so those I'll go through them like in generally on my channel with the, you know, publicly, but then afterwards I will put the things up on the members, so they're there for your reference if you want to look at them. So thank you for being with me. Shame about England, but never mind, at least I didn't lose. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Thank you so much, and thank you for being a member of my channel. Bye.